Hey, Jess.
Hey, Brian.
I once heard a story that in Britain, when they say Cheerio, it actually came from when the Romans were around and they were calling for a chariot.
Really?
I don't know.
Life is full of questions,
Some smart
some silly.
and some that absolutely should not have been asked out loud.
From science and pop culture to the mysteries of everyday life.
We chase curiosity wherever it leads. We do the research so you don't have to. I'm Brian.
I'm Jess.
Welcome
to
to
Life
Life
Science.
Science. I bring up the Cheerio thing, not because I know that that's true. I seem to remember hearing that story. Pure speculation. If anybody can find out if that's true, we looked up the etymology. Nevertheless, I bring it up because Cheerios is actually one of your favorite cereals.
It is. It's probably my favorite
Why?
because it's freaking delicious. I mean, there's other reasons too.
I mean, I could do the honey nut, but
I love Honey Nut too, but the plain original Cheerios are superior product. I mean, who wouldn't think that whole oats milled into flour, mixed into dough, and formed into rings, dried and toasted would not be, it's like a little tiny oat bagel.
okay. First of all, I would take the oat donut, maybe. Like they make them sweet.
They
Maybe that's why they came out with the
I was
frosted
gonna
ones.
say they
Yeah, they
made
did come out with
frosted
frosted ones.
Cheerios.
I felt like it was all we ate as kids, so now I'm just like,
Okay,
I'm out.
so you
Yeah, I'm out.
yeah, my parents definitely were not big on the what they called sugar cereals. So we had Cheerios, Rice Krispies, Corn Flakes. So Cheerios was also something I ate very frequently, but I apparently went the other direction because I adore them. I think too, for me, there's an element of nostalgia there because of that.
So I'm not familiar with any of the Cheerios lore, but I remember so they come out with they had Honey Nut and they came out with the frosted. Did they ever come out with, like, other shapes or anything like that?
They did. They came up with heart-shaped ones, which I think still sometimes you can find. They'll come out in February, which is National Heart Month. So those a
Also Valentine's month,
and
yeah.
also
Yeah.
Valentine's Month, yes. They also came up with X's and O's. I remember this. There was tic-tac-toe board on the back of the box, and you could play tic-tac-toe with your Cheerios.
Okay.
And there was also millennios around the year 2000. I don't remember those. I I believe I read an article, I will double check, but they had the number 2 in there, and that was also so that you could make the number 2000 out of your Cheerios in honor of the millennium.
Okay. I mean, fair play, it's, I guess, some clever marketing, but
Definitely.
it's something else that, you know, the heart health thing, and you kinda mentioned it. I know that Cheerios has beta glucan, which is a soluble fiber in oats, so it kind of
Mhm. So it can suck up all of the bad stuff in your body. They tell people with high cholesterol that it's a great option for breakfast for that reason. So it's good to
yeah,
help with.
it'll lower your LDL.
And did you know, I mean, it wasn't just that they came up with, "Oh, let's call them Cheerios because they're O-shaped." They actually tested more than 500 different recipes for Cheerios, and they tried 10 different shapes and sizes of that cereal before settling on the O. And when it was originally debuted, Cheerios came out under the name Cheery Oats, OATS, but there was a certain oatmeal company, they were very upset. They felt like it was a encroachment on their product, so they decided that they were going to bring legal action. So Cheerios was promptly renamed Cheerios, and since then, it's been that.
Okay, but here's a science question for you. Do you know why Cheerios clump in milk?
I do. And the reason for that is something that is legit called the Cheerios effect. And this is a scientific term. There are academic papers written about this Cheerios effect. It is talked about and taught in the world's highest institutions of education. And it describes how floating objects attract one another or the edge of a container. So sometimes you'll see them float towards the edge of your bowl because capillary forces and surface tension make them do that. Being the scientist, maybe you can explain it better than I ever could.
So the capillary effect is seen in a lot of things. Let's just say the capillary effect of water will allow the molecules to work against other forces like gravity. That's why if you were to take a piece of paper and dip the corner into water, you would see the water go up.
Up the
That is
paper.
yeah, up the paper.
Yeah,
That's the capillary
I
effect.
see. Good
So
good
that's
definition.
yeah,
That's way
that's
better than
the
I could
Cheerios
do.
effect is a clever name, but the capillary effect is a thing seen in quite a few things, not just Cheerios or, watery paper.
But it's best seen in Cheerios because it is the best cereal.
Okay, I'm done with you. So let's move on to our big question, something that we had been discussing the other day.
Yeah, we were talking about how science is constantly evolving and how quickly it can evolve. And what came up was the question of how does an idea become accepted science? And then what finally causes people to then question that science, prompting more research and information that can turn that original science on its ear. But we thought we would give you a couple of examples so that you can see what we mean. So let's start out with a question for you, Brian. Could a bad smell actually make you sick? I don't mean like necessarily throwing up, but can a bad smell make you ill?
So it can, depending on what fumes or toxins are there. The example that in our discussions we kind of came up with is a famous one that you find in a lot of microbiology courses or environmental microbiology courses. So during the 19th century, many physicians and public officials attributed cholera and other illnesses to miasma, which was a harmful air associated with sewage, decay, and foul odors. So during London 1854 Soho cholera outbreak, a physician by the name of John Snow, the
Not from Game of Thrones.
not from Game of Thrones,
Bummer.
the godfather of finding the sources of illnesses, that methodology. So the physician John Snow reviewed death records, interviewed households, and found that most deaths were clustered among a group of people who obtained water from the Broad Street pump. Snow's investigation involved more than the famous map he made of the outbreak area near Broad Street. There were some exceptions, including nearby brewery workers who generally drank beer instead of pumped the water.
Leave it to beer to solve science's most pressing
It
problems.
definitely helped.
Yeah.
And a woman who lived outside her neighborhood preferred the Broad Street water and had it delivered to her home. And that was sort of an anomaly, an outlier to his research. He actually investigated why for the outlier, and that
Helped
it,
bring him
it
to
helped.
his
Yeah,
conclusions.
helped get him to the end there. And so, he starts off, you're thinking that this bad smell with the sewage is causing cholera. It turns out that it's water, but it's fantastic in that this actually laid the groundwork for having clean water and healthy sanitation and things like that. Great book called Drinking Water by Salzman.
Fantastic read.
Yeah, you should absolutely read it. And it talks about these sorts of things where, the importance of water available to people and having that clean sanitation, but also in the idea that, yes, a smell can cause you to become nauseous depending if there's toxins, depending on the chemical makeup of it, but it's not necessarily the cause of you being sick. There could be other factors involved. So science evolved, turned out they were drinking really bad water. So just because science says it's something on a Tuesday with research on a Wednesday, they could find a better answer and help save lives.
And in this case, it absolutely did.
Yeah.
It did.
So, I guess throw it back into your court. So, more in your world, would you drink a radioactive water if advertisements said it increased your energy?
Me personally, no. And that's twofold. One, I do not wish to glow. And two, I would say just because advertisements said it's so doesn't mean it is so. That's my marketing background. I have enough of that to know that I should be leery of advertisements. But quote, back in the day, it may not have been something that was at the top of people's minds, that advertising wasn't necessarily being truthful with them. So, our second item that we are going to discuss is when radioactivity was marketed as healthy. So, radiation is not imaginary science. It is carefully controlled and is still used today to kill cancer cells, shrink tumors, and relieve certain cancer symptoms. So it is a valid medical treatment. But back in 1918, a medication called Raditor, Radithor, was bottled water that contained radium and was promoted to folks to help with fatigue, impotence, and more than 150 other conditions. So it's definitely got that snake oil vibe going on.
For our chemistry folks, two different types of isotopes, 226 and 228.
And that's where you see the difference between his science brain and my marketing brain. With those two different kinds of radium, it was promoted as an extremely healthful elixir that folks would find multiple uses for. More than 400,000 bottles of Raditor were distributed or people purchased between the years of 1925 and 1930. So that's a lot of Raditor bottles going out into the world where people felt that it would cure all ailments. And back then, manufacturers weren't required to prove that their drug was safe and effective before they sold it. Now it is required, this being a good example of why. So, because Raditor was properly labeled with what it contained, they were perfectly on the up and up, and then they could go forth and sell it to whomever they would like.
The FDA had no authority to stop it being sold. I guess the importance of the FDA doing its due diligence comes into play there, especially since it had around, well, let's say a little bit more than 2 microcuries of radium in each bottle. I'd be curious on the final numbers and how many people it took out, because
Yeah.
that had to be tough on them. They're just giving themselves a version of cancer treatment right off the jump,
Yeah,
Yeah, but
didn't
but
really
they
need
didn't
it.
really need it, yeah.
Yeah. So there is one example, and it was really the turning point for this medication. There was a businessman and athlete who was very well known at the time. His name was Eben Byers, and he took Raditor over an extended period of time. He felt that it was going to continue his healthful lifestyle, but in 1932, he died from radium poisoning. Go figure. So the public attention that surrounded his illness and his passing really helped to end the popularity of this kind of a tonic and really put science on notice that they really needed to do some more research of medications and what people are ingesting before it goes out to market. So this is a story that illustrates that if a tonic can be scientifically real and medically useful in a controlled setting like radiation is today for cancer treatments, but it doesn't make every product associated with that treatment necessarily safe and effective. So, this is where my marketing excitement comes in because this is a perfect example of savvy and dangerous marketing. So, for example, when you include a lot of technical details and scientific words that people don't necessarily understand, but it's coming from a guy in a white coat saying, I'm a doctor. Are you really? I don't know. But you look like one, so you must really be one because no one's going to pull the wool over our eyes simply to sell a product. So when you use these terms, people tend to believe them. So in experiments that have been done, non experts, they're not experts on, say, a medication, right? And there was an explanation about what that medication did. They rated those explanations more favorably when the explanations included irrelevant information, but it sounded scientific.
Wow.
So, sounding scientific is a big marketing ploy. Do your own research, folks. Make sure that you understand what you're looking at, what you're about to take. The second thing is repetition. There's always in marketing, there's the rule of three, right? You have to repeat something about a product at least 3 times to kind of commit it to somebody's memory. Eventually, you say it enough, you start to believe it. Repetition can make something feel true. So, in other studies, participants rated repeated statements as more truthful than new statements, even if those new statements contradicted facts that they already knew. So, if you say it enough, they will believe it. And then another marketing tactic that's been used is the influencer tactic. Someone who's famous, prestigious, someone we all know that is healthy or can have positive associations with a product, that can influence our health decisions. Oh, if it's good for this person, it must be good for me.
And on that, it's I use this product to lose 10 pounds or whatever. I'm like, well, you're worth, $500 million. The private chef and trainers may help in that,
That's
but
right.
it's
Your lifestyle offers the
yeah,
flexibility you need
yeah,
to
like
accomplish that 10 pounds. Yeah, it's true. So, radium is kind of one of the first examples, I would say, for medical uses that marketers took advantage of scientific credibility in one use case and transferred it to another use case where it actually was quite dangerous.
some of our takeaways from today. I think my big one is the fact that I want to push the point home that science is about learning the scientific method. You have a hypothesis, you test it, look at the results, and you constantly try to get better. We use science and the scientific method every day in life. When you make your coffee with a new creamer for the first time and you're like, should I put 1 tablespoon? Nope. After you taste it, I should have done two. Whatever the case may be, you're constantly using this methodology. Science and doctors, researchers, they're using this methodology the entire time. They're always trying to get better, learn more from every experiment.
But often, when you have something contradictory that comes out of science that tests a long held scientific belief, people aren't going to like it. People don't like change, right? They're going to want to not believe it, especially if it's something they don't want to hear.
Absolutely.
So people are going to be more critical of it. But the foundation of science is to discover the truth about the world around us.
Yeah, and it doesn't happen overnight. I mean, it's funding for research. Experiments don't happen overnight. They take time to set up so that there's no outside influences and that
Mhm.
it can't be a question for exterior influences and things like that. So the research does take a little while. So
Mhm.
sometimes the correct answer doesn't show up right off the jump. You have to wait until more experiments are done to find the true answer and find the solution to
Yeah.
certain things.
I
So,
agree. And just for your own health and well being, folks, and that of your family and loved ones, before you pop something into your mouth that has not been prescribed by your physician, please do your homework, do some research. It could save your life.
so great episode as far as I can see it. I want to put it out to our people that hit up on our socials because I want to put a poll out there.
Yeah.
I don't think Cheerios is the best cereal.
Cheerios is the best cereal, far
Listen,
superior. What do you feel is the most superior cereal?
I won't lie. I've been on a kick, and I'll go through a rotation depending on my mood. I'll eat a bunch of it, then switch it up. I'm on a Cocoa Pebbles kick. I'll knock out Cinnamon Toast Crunch any
Yeah,
day of the week,
very
yeah,
delicious. Yes.
and Raisin Bran Crunch.
Raisin Bran
When I
Crunch
wanna
is
feel
good.
healthy, but it's still,
Covered in sugar
yeah, it's
and
fine.
yeah.
I'm okay with that sugar,
Yeah.
yeah.
I can go with that because probably my second favorite cereal, again for nostalgic purposes, probably is Cocoa Puffs.
Okay,
So I'm with you on the Cocoa Pebbles situation there,
okay.
but Cheerios still holds the
Let's list
tall
it as
place in my
cocoa
heart.
cereal. We'll
Cocoa
have 4.
cereal.
Cocoa cereal, Cheerios, cocoa cereal, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, or Raisin Bran Crunch,
Or something else.
or
Please
something.
tell us.
Yeah,
So we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and we're on Blue Sky.
yeah.
So hit us up there and please participate. Tell us what your favorite is.
Well, that's another episode in the books. Thanks for joining us today on Life Science.
Follow us on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. And connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
Have a question or a hypothesis, or maybe even just a rabbit hole you think we should explore? Send it to us at email.lifesciencepodcast@gmail.com. It might just inspire a future episode.
Until next time, stay curious.